It's time for another review, and this time it's Mafia 2. Mafia 2 is a third-person shooter where you play the role of Vito Scaletta. Vito's a good guy who cares for his family, but unfortunately after a stint in the army he finds himself hard up for money and soon falls in with the wrong people. And Vito changes from being a caring brother and a war hero to being a murderer and criminal fairly easily.
Lost some money. He borrowed it to open some big jewelry store. He's not paying it back fast enough. We're gonna collect his payment tonight.
Though the story takes a little while to get going, before long you'll find yourself breaking into jewellery shops, killing Irishmen, and policemen, and passers-by, and running people over, and you get the picture. The story pans out fairly straightforwardly. There aren't many choices, and any choices that there are don't affect anything long term. You'll spend most of the game being either a taxi driver, wheelman, assassin, or crazed gunman.
While I open his door. Keep those assholes off my back.
The game uses a good cover system which you'll be familiar with if you've played any recent third-person shooter, as well as a familiar damage mechanic where the screen goes black and white the more damaged you are.
Hey Vito, come on, step on it, eh?
I have to mention the city of Empire Bay itself. The city and its surroundings look fantastic, and I'd go as far as to say that it's the best open-world urban environment I've seen in a game ever, bar none. Considering the whole game takes place within the city limits, they've done a really good job of making it varied, and it's especially noticeable early on in the first few chapters of the game, which take place in winter, so the whole city is covered in snow and ice. Unfortunately, due to a lack of side missions, you're unlikely to see much of the city outside the route you have to travel to get from main mission to main mission. Another downside that doesn't affect it much is that Vito can't swim. The people and characters of Empire Bay also seem much more alive than they have in any other open-world game I've ever played.
Battled fierce resistance to expel the Germans from Polish soil, delivering yet another crushing blow to the already crumbling German forces. There are reports of heavy
If you've played other driving games, the handling of the cars here might take a little bit of getting used to, especially since the first half of the game takes place in the snow. But by the time you've reached that halfway point, you won't be hitting civilians by the side of the road anymore, you'll be casually sliding around corners without hitting a thing. Something that you don't find in many games these days is a decent law system. The police in Mafia 2 will actually pull you over if you break the speed limit, but strangely they won't do a thing if you drive recklessly or run through a red light right in front of them. The police that give chase aren't all that bad at driving either, although you will find yourself outwitting them on more than one occasion, and it's brilliant fun.
Copy that.
As well as the city itself being full of variety, there's also a fair bit of variety in missions. Even though the majority of the time you'll find yourself going somewhere, killing someone or chasing someone, the game does a good job of making it feel fresh from the first kill to the last. There aren't many weapons in the game, but they do cover most of the bases: machine guns, pistols, shotguns, and grenades. But you may find yourself using pistols more often than anything else, since they feel like they're the more powerful option. For the most part, the enemy AI is quite good, although occasionally you may find yourself shooting at an enemy standing completely still in open space. The Molotov cocktail also makes an appearance partway into the game, but you'll find that you don't need to use them that often. There's also a fist fighting mechanic, which gets more complex the deeper into the game you go. It starts out with a simple left click for a light punch, right click for a heavy punch and space to block, but sooner or later you'll find yourself pulling off heavy moves and combo moves.
What, is somebody there? Somebody there, see?
The game also tries its hand at stealth, which it does fairly well. Although occasionally you may think it's a complete miracle that the enemy standing 3 feet away, practically staring at you, didn't see you. I think this game is great, but it isn't without its flaws. There's no FPS cap on the menus or collectibles screen, so you may find yourself hitting 1000 FPS. There's also the occasional graphical glitch, though I suppose this could be a community arts project. The only other downside to Mafia 2 is the ending. I won't go into detail, but it leaves a massive cliffhanger, and you won't get the rest of the story unless you pay for the DLC, which I might add has been available since release. I think that's a just plain horrible way of doing it, and the DLC should add extra stuff rather than finishing off something you've already paid for. If it weren't for details like this, I would have given Mafia a 9 out of 10, but as it is, I'm going to have to knock it down to an 8.